Hi, I'm Linda. Welcome back. Today I finished up a glowing morning seascape sunrise. It's got some nice rays that goes up into the clouds. Some surf that's coming in, kind of quiet, not real heavy, with some reflections in the sand, with graphies on the side. I think you're gonna really have fun with this one. So get your paints out, get ready. So let's get started. So here are the oil paints I used. Liquid white, titanium white, black, phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, Van Dyke brown, burnt sienna, sand, which is Van Dyke brown with a little white, orange, cad yellow light hue, and red. So now I'm taking some liquid white and I'm going all over the canvas, a very light coat all over. And then after I get all done, I'm going to take a shop rag and take off all the excess oil. Just take it all the way down. See how much of that coming off? You don't need all that, so just enough to make it slippery. Okay, so I'm going into cad yellow. And I've gone up, I made a little mark, 9¼ inches from the bottom up, and that is going to be my horizon line. So I'm going to take a little cad yellow, I'm going to go just above the horizon line. Just put a little of that yellow in there. Maybe go up a little bit and bring it all the way across. And then we'll add a little below into the water. Where the water is going to be, want a little sunlight reflection there. Just a little bit. So now I'm going into orange with a touch of red. And I'm going to start around that sunrise there. I'm not going to go into the yellow at all. I'm just going to go around the yellow. Just go all the way to the top. Nice and easy. And you can smooth it out with a clean dry brush when you get done. But I'm going to put a line on my horizon line right there, 9¼ inches. And then I'm going to go all the way to the top and finish that out with the orange and red. A little more red on the corners. And fill that in. And I'll bring some of that orange and red down. I'm going to pull some of that down into the water. Don't touch the yellow yet, though. Just a nice kind of go around it. I'm going into a little bit of alizarin crimson in the top corners. Just circular motion, just rubbing that in best I can. And on the other side and across the top. And a little bit here and there. Now I'm going into phthalo blue. And I'm going to make it kind of a darker lavender up there, right over the top of that. In fact, I'm using the same brush and just working some of that in. Little circular motions, cloud-like motions. Again, that's alizarin crimson with a little bit of phthalo blue. And a little heavier in other areas. Just wherever you want, wherever you think. I'm going to bring some closer to the horizon line there. A little bit above, and then I'm going to bring some of that down into the water, straight down. Not all the way, though. Same with the other side. Adding a little more blue here and there. Putting a little orange and red over the top. Almost looks like stormy clouds, doesn't it? I'm going to add a little of the orange right underneath the yellow. Make that more orangey. Try and blend the sides in. And you can start crossing over into the yellow part a little bit. You want to blend that in. Going into cad yellow and white. A little bit, yeah, a little bit of yellow and white there. I'm going to start working on a little hair there. We'll start working on the sun. Right in the center there, little circular motions. That's going to be the lightest area there. And you can go up into above there, start creating some clouds. Oh, I'm going to put a little more yellow down in the water underneath, right underneath the sun. Blending that in. Got a 2-inch there, blend that out. I'm going to go back up and continue adding yellow and white. Little yellow and white clouds up there. Highlighting some of those. Because it's going to be quite bright. Yeah, decide which way you want your rays to go. I'm angling up to the right and then a little bit to the left. Trying to balance them out a little bit so they look natural. Create a line and I take a dry brush and buff out underneath those cloud lines after you're done, just to soften them all up. And I'll add a few light spots up there in those dark clouds. Get the white in there, and then I'll take a clean dry brush and go and buff underneath of those so they'll soften up. I'm going to put another one up there. Anywhere where you think. And if you got too many, you can always take some red and orange and take it out. Now I'm buffing underneath those light areas. See how pretty that looks? Going in, still perfecting above that sunlight there. Sunrise. So I want it to really pop. I'm just using a small fan brush. I think it's the number 4. But you don't need a big brush in those tight areas. Just a little lightness in there. Now I'm just extending that yellow out. Making it darker and then lighter as it goes out. Stretching out to the edge of the canvas. A little lighter yellow along the right underneath that sun. Put some white under there. I've got a liner this time here. I'm just getting in a real tight area there. I want just a really, really bright bottom of the sun to show. Just working my way over. Just getting those clouds exactly how I want them. Just buffing the bottoms out. Shaping them a little bit. Okay, I've got a little of that orangey color on, and I'm going to go just underneath that light area, that yellow area. Just blending that color together, creating a nice line there. I'm measuring. I'm making sure that my sides are the same, about 9 1/4. You want to make sure your horizon line is pretty straight. So I'm getting back into the phthalo blue and a little bit of alizarin crimson, like the dark area we use in the clouds, light dark paint. And I'm going to start right on the horizon line and just gradually work my way over. And then on the other side, I want to make sure it's nice and straight. That is where the water is going to start, right there. So I took a clean dry brush, went over the top of it, soften it up a little bit, blend it. Nice and straight. Back into that dark color. Put a little extra there on the horizon line. And I made a little bit of powder blue, and that's with the phthalo and white. I wanted a real nice light blue on that right side. And a little bit of white underneath the sunrise too. Going into the red and orange. Putting that underneath there, and then putting a little bit of that blue, dark blue over. That that's a darker side of the ocean. So I want to keep that side a little darker. And I'm dotting a little red in there and orange. As the sunlight's hitting that, it's kind of like reflection. So I'm going into the orange color and just putting some back waves, movement in the water, way in the distance. Now I'm taking a medium phthalo, just with a touch of white, just a lighter blue. And I'm in with that light blue, touch of white on the other side, right over the top of the red. It'll be all right. Just have to add a little white to it. It looks like waves in the distance. And I am angling. See that? I start a little narrower at the top. I'm a little wider because I'm slanting the way the waves are going to come in. Now with orange, I'm going up kind of underneath the sunrise there. And with white, I have a liner brush or a script brush, and I'm gently put some wave action way in the distance. I want to brighten that area up underneath that sun. And with a palette knife, I'm just going to go underneath with a little bit of the light blue underneath the back shoreline there, way in the distance. Works a little bit better than the script liner. I can make really nice straight lines with that palette knife. Just a tiny little row on there. I've got some yellow on there now and just creating some back waves in the distance. Now I've got some white on a little fan brush. Just gonna tap in some waves right above that orange section, orange and red. And I'm gonna carry those waves off to the left, almost to the end, and then I'm gonna bring some more to the right. And my liner brush does help there if I want to keep it fairly thin, and bring some over on the other side. So now I'm going into the alizarin crimson again and blue. I'm going to create some dark areas underneath those distant waves. Just a little tiny line of the dark bluish alizarin crimson. It's almost like a dark lavender purple. And perfecting with a little fan brush some of those waves, pulling down some of that white right over that dark line we just put in. Just one little swipe is all you need to do. Just looks like the waves are pushing over there. So I'm making some more waves in the back with a liner brush and a palette knife, whatever works for you. Bringing some of the angles of the water underneath that wave action. Just little tiny little lines back there. And script, whatever works best. You can go back and forth, use script, smooth things out, or you can just use your palette knife. So I'm just perfecting a little bit of the waves, putting in some more little splashes back there, little foams. Palette knife helps with adding more wave lines way in the distance there. And just kind of swirling that little palette knife, getting some nice angles. I'm going to get a little heavier there as I come up to that red line. Just going to put some more distinct wave actions going in there. And adding a little dark underneath with the dark purple. That makes them stand out a lot better. Gives them a little depth. So into the yellow and white. Got some reflections right there. I'm just going to add some in there. A little more white center. And I'm going to tap in some little, little water lines in that orange area. Movement. More of the yellow and white. Can put a nice little edge on that there. That right there, that yellow line right there where we're making the line. I'm thinking that probably is the sand line where the sand meets the water. So I'm putting a little bit of, tiny bit of the burnt sienna mixed with some white and a touch of yellow, and it's almost like a a reddish brown. I'm just adding a little of that in there because that is part of the sand line. See, now I'm going into Van Dyke brown and a little bit of the lighter sand color. I've got, I'm going to put a little edge. That right there is the landline. That is where the sand meets the water. So I'm going to put a little bit of a brown line there, sand line. And I'm going to smooth that out. So eventually I'll be putting some water there, little splashes there. I'm going to go back up on top with a little bit of a white on my fan brush, and I'm going to accent some of those darker clouds. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of powder blue underneath or in that dark cloud. That's phthalo and a little white. Makes a real pretty powder blue. So I want a little blue sky showing there. So I'm just little circular motions in there, and I'm going to put a little bit of blue sky showing. Just to, I don't know, lighten it up a little bit. And I'm going over with a drop towel there to take off the excess. If it gets a little thick, you can always take a blue shop towel like that and just lay it over the top, and it will just take off all that extra oil. I'm going into the Van Dyke brown and the sand color. The sand color, we don't have sand. Take Van Dyke brown, touch of white, a little bit of, you could use yellow ochre too. That would make a nice sand color too. I'm just going to put in some sand there, right underneath that line, and down in front. Down in the bottom front. Keep the angles kind of like I'm doing it, angling upward, because that's going to be the beach. And so I want to keep that angle right. I'll be adding on the sides, oh, some grasses, clumps of grass there. But I want to fill some of that in, blend it in now so I don't have to do it later. Putting in some sand color down there. Keeping, oh, some of those orange highlights and the yellow, keep those in there. If you haven't got them in there, you can always put them in now. A little bit of orange, a little bit of yellow, where you're going to see the sunlight hit that wet sand. Because it will be wet. It is wet. They'll have some water lines in there. Just lightening that bottom up a little more. Now on a little brush, I've got some, oh, medium brown, light brown, and I'm etching out where my big clumps of sand hills are going to be. Little sand hills. I'm going to have some grassies, tall grassies in there. So I'm going back into the yellow and white. More white. I'm lightening up that bottom area a little bit. Keeping my angles at an angle. Okay, so now I've got a half-inch brush there flat, and I'm just doing some little X strokes in there, putting some of the Van Dyke brown and a little bit of black. It looks great, but I'm going to be putting some black, darker areas in that, more on the bottom part of that sand mound, and then a few, above. And I'll be putting some red tones in there too. I want to say red ochre, but it's a little bit of Van Dyke brown with a touch of red. And I'm to do the same on the other side. Got the shop towel on the right there, soaking up a little bit of that brown oil paint, taking the excess off. Okay, so now I've got a fan brush and I'm just got some dark, got black in there. I'm just doing some downward motions. I'm gonna jump back here. I'm gonna put some wave lines in the water back there before I put my grasses in. I want a little bit of wave action because it's hard to do that after we get the grasses in. Gotta do it now. So just a little roll of paint on that palette knife and your wrist straight facing the canvas and just gently, gently pushing and pulling, just shaping. It's really quite easy once you get the hang of it. A little bit of roll, just put them where you want. Now this is a little trick I've used in my last couple of paintings. It's a little plastic bottle. It's got a tiny little metal tip on it. And I put liquid white in there with a touch of titanium, shook it up really good. And it squirts little tiny, tiny lines. It's really neat. I mean, it almost works better than a liner brush. So I'm just putting some foamies back on the last wave we got there, and in the front where the water is rushing forward, I'll be putting a little of that roll of thin lines there. Then I'll take a little tiny brush and I'm gonna brush some of those foamies back. I'll brush some of the white back, uh, probably an angle towards the sunrise. And you'll see in a minute what I mean. See, now I'm just taking a brush, I'm just going back, grabbing a little bit of that white paint, just pulling some of that back, like the water is, you know, running back there, coming forward. And take a little break, put some shop towel on it, and it will take a lot of the excess off. It won't hurt it. It just takes off the excess paint. Now I'm going into the burnt sienna with a touch of red, and I'm just scruffing downward with my um, fan brush. And you can flip up or down. I like to scratch downward sometimes. It leaves some really nice uh, grass marks. Leaving the dark areas, I'm going to go into a little bit. Now I've got a goofy brush it's it's a real El Cheapo, and I cut half of it off, and I just left a thin roll of those thin bristles, thinking that I could use it for grassies. But as it turns out, I ended up using my script liner. I mean, it worked all right. It was just kind of a experiment. So I've got the lighter sand color and just pushing some of that light color in some of those areas. I want a variation of color. That's a sand color. Actually, if you want to make it, it's Van Dyke brown with a little yellow, maybe yellow ochre, and a touch of white, and you'll get the same color. So I'm pushing in some darker colors in there. So I want some of these grass leaves to really show up. So I want to push some of that in there, lifting up. You'll start to see little grassies go on. And it's every which way, just a very light touch. There's no set pattern for this little sand hill. But the light and darks in there makes it, gives it a little more realism look, I guess. So when I'm into Van Dyke Brown and Script Liner, I'm going to get some of those darker grassies in first. Just light swirls, just light touches. They might be kind of hard to see now, but after I start putting in the lighter color, the sand color, you'll see them. And you can even take your palette knife. Sometimes put little scratchies in there that make like little twigs and things. That works good too. So now I'm using the script with the dark brown, and I'm gonna bring a couple of really tall ones, almost almost to the horizon line there. So I wanted a couple of nice tall ones. And down at the bottom, I'm flicking up the center, and I'm going right over to the other, and I'm just flicking my wrist and getting some of that pretty color in there. That's kind of a reddish brown, but I'm really working those grasses. I almost see a finished painting here. Won't be long. I put a few more grasses in there. I mean, you can go crazy doing this. It's so much fun. So I'm going to put a couple of tall ones there, almost to the horizon line, just like on the other side. And I'm back at it with some more grasses, putting in some lighter ones. It's ever so light. If you just barely touch the canvas, that paint will come off. Really, really nice, fine, very fine. But it has to be kind of an ink-like consistency. Can't be thick paint at all. But it just flows on if once you get started. Putting in some more in the front. Well, I really love doing this one, and I hope you do too. So until next time, happy painting and God bless.